Before we begin our journey tonight, I would love it if you could take a moment to subscribe to this channel and give this video a like if you enjoy the experience. Your support helps me continue creating these peaceful bedtime stories for you. Also, please leave a comment below telling me where you are watching from and what time it is for you right now. It brings me such joy to know that people all around the world are finding comfort in these stories, and it helps create a beautiful sense of community among us all. Now, let yourself settle into your most comfortable position, whether that is lying in your bed, resting in a chair, or wherever you feel most at peace. Allow your eyes to close gently, like curtains drawing shut at the end of a long day. Feel the weight of your body being supported completely by whatever surface you are resting upon. Notice the gentle rhythm of your breathing, the way the air flows in and out of your lungs with such natural ease. Let any tension in your shoulders simply melt away like warm wax, and allow your mind to drift like a leaf floating gently down a quiet stream. Tonight you are safe, you are comfortable, and you are exactly where you need to be. Our story today begins in the year 1347 in the rolling hills of the English countryside, where morning mist clings to ancient oak trees, and the air carries the sweet scent of wildflowers and freshly turned earth. Here, nestled in a valley where a clear stream winds its way through meadows dotted with grazing sheep, stands the Abbey of St. Benedict, its weathered stone walls having witnessed centuries of prayer, contemplation, and peaceful daily life. The abbey rises from the landscape like a natural formation, its towers and arches seeming to grow from the very earth itself, while ivy climbs its walls in gentle cascades of green. The morning light filters through tall windows, casting long rectangles of golden warmth across worn flagstone floors that have been polished smooth by countless generations of sandaled feet. Brother Thomas awakens before dawn, as he has every morning for the past 15 years, not to the harsh clang of bells or the jarring sound of horns, but to the gentle stirring of his own soul calling him to prayer. His cell is simple and peaceful, containing only the essentials: a narrow bed with rough woolen blankets, a small wooden table bearing a single candle, and a window that looks out upon the monastery garden, where herbs grow in neat rows beneath the watchful gaze of ancient apple trees. The stone walls of his chamber are cool to the touch, and they seem to hold within them the prayers and meditations of all the monks who have dwelt here before him. As he rises from his bed, the floorboards creak softly beneath his feet, a sound as familiar and comforting as a mother's lullaby. The air in the abbey is crisp and clean, carrying with it the faint fragrance of beeswax candles and the lingering scent of frankincense from the evening prayers. Brother Thomas moved through the corridors with practiced quietude, his bare feet making only the softest whisper against the stone floor. The halls are lit by oil lamps that cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating patterns that seem to tell stories of their own. Other monks move silently through the passages, each absorbed in his own contemplation, their presence felt rather than heard, like gentle spirits gliding through the sacred space. In the chapel, the first light of dawn begins to filter through stained glass windows, painting the interior in soft hues of blue and gold. The wooden pews, worn smooth by countless hours of prayer, seem to welcome each monk as he takes his place for the morning office. The altar, adorned with simple white linens and a carved wooden crucifix, stands at the heart of the space, radiating a sense of peace that seems to embrace everyone who enters. The stone arches overhead create a canopy of shadows and light, while the gentle acoustics of the space make even the softest whispered prayer resonate with profound meaning. Brother Thomas takes his place among his brothers, feeling the familiar comfort of this daily ritual that has shaped his life for so many years. The abbot, a gentle man whose beard has grown white with wisdom, and whose eyes hold the depth of someone who has found true contentment, begins the morning prayers with a voice that carries the warmth of summer sunshine. The Latin words flow like water over smooth stones, creating a rhythm that seems to match the very heartbeat of the earth itself. Each monk joins his voice to the chorus, creating a harmony that rises and falls like the gentle breathing of the earth awakening to a new day. As the morning prayers conclude, the monks file out of the chapel in contemplative silence, each carrying with him the peace and centering that comes from beginning the day in communion with the divine. The sun has now risen fully above the horizon, painting the abbey walls in warm golden light and casting long shadows across the courtyard, where a fountain bubbles gently in the center, its waters catching and reflecting the morning light like scattered diamonds. Birds sing in the ancient trees that surround the abbey, their melodies weaving through the air like invisible threads of joy and celebration. Brother Thomas makes his way to the scriptorium, where he will spend the morning hours engaged in the sacred work of copying manuscripts. The scriptorium is a haven of quiet concentration, its long tables arranged to catch the best light from the tall windows, while shelves line the walls holding scrolls and bound volumes that contain the wisdom of ages. The air here is filled with the gentle scratching of quills on parchment, the soft rustle of pages being turned, and the occasional quiet murmur of a brother asking for guidance or sharing a moment of inspiration. The scent of ink and vellum mingles with the fresh air that flows through the open windows, creating an atmosphere that seems to encourage both focus and creativity. At his assigned place, Brother Thomas finds his materials already prepared, sheets of carefully prepared parchment, smooth and cream-colored, waiting to receive the sacred words he will inscribe upon them. His quill, cut from a goose feather and sharpened to perfection, rests beside a small pot of ink that gleams black as a moonless night. The manuscript he is copying today is a collection of psalms, and as he begins to work, he feels the familiar rhythm of the task settling into his bones. Each letter is formed with deliberate care, each word given the reverence it deserves, while his mind finds peace in the repetitive motion of writing. The morning hours pass like a gentle river flowing toward the sea, unmarked by the frantic pace of worldly concerns. Brother Thomas loses himself in the sacred work, his consciousness expanding beyond the confines of his physical form to embrace the eternal truths contained in the words he copies. The Latin flows from his quill like music made visible, each character a note in a symphony of faith and devotion. Around him his brothers work in similar absorption, their collective concentration creating an atmosphere of profound tranquility that seems to sanctify the very air they breathe. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, its rays shift through the windows, illuminating different portions of the scriptorium in turn. Brother Thomas pauses in his work to flex his fingers and rest his eyes, gazing out through the window at the abbey gardens where other monks tend to the vegetable plots and herb gardens that provide food and medicine for the community. The sight of his brothers working the earth with their hands brings him a deep sense of connection to the cycles of nature and the simple, honest work that sustains life. The gardens stretch out in orderly rows, with cabbages and turnips growing alongside beds of healing herbs like chamomile, lavender, and rosemary, their fragrances carried on the gentle breeze that stirs the leaves of the fruit trees planted along the garden walls. Brother Marcus, the Abbey's herbalist, moves among the plants with the careful attention of someone who understands that each leaf and stem contains within it the potential for healing. His weathered hands, stained green from years of working with plants, touch each herb with reverence, knowing that these simple gifts from the earth will be transformed into remedies that can ease pain, calm troubled minds, and restore health to those who seek the Abbey's help. The morning dew still clings to the leaves, creating tiny jewels of water that catch the sunlight and sparkle like fragments of crystal scattered across the garden. The bell tower chimes the hour of terce, its bronze voice rolling across the countryside like a gentle wave, calling the monks to their third prayer of the day. Brother Thomas carefully sets down his quill and covers his work with a clean cloth, protecting the fresh ink from any dust or moisture that might damage his careful script. He joins the procession of monks making their way once again to the chapel, their footsteps creating a soft rhythm on the stone floors that seems to echo the beating of a great, peaceful heart. In the chapel, the light has shifted and changed, now streaming through the windows from a different angle, painting new patterns of color across the walls and floor. The prayers of terce are brief but profound, marking the division of the day into sacred portions, each hour an opportunity for reflection and gratitude. The monks' voices blend together in harmony, creating a sound that seems to transcend the physical space of the chapel and reach towards something infinite and eternal. Brother Thomas feels his spirit lift with the familiar words, his heart opening like a flower turning toward the sun. After the prayers, the community gathers in the refectory for the morning meal, a simple but nourishing repast that reflects the Abbey's commitment to moderation and gratitude. The refectory is a long hall with wooden tables arranged in orderly rows, while high windows allow natural light to illuminate the space without creating harsh shadows. The walls are adorned with simple religious artwork, painted frescoes that depict scenes from Scripture in soft, muted colors that seem to glow with their own inner light. The wooden beams overhead are dark with age, and they seem to hold within them the echoes of countless conversations and shared meals. Brother Thomas takes his place at the table, bowing his head in silent gratitude for the food that has been prepared with such care by the Abbey's cooks. The meal consists of fresh bread, still warm from the ovens, with a crust that crackles softly when broken, and an interior that is tender and fragrant with the scent of grain and yeast. There is also a simple porridge made from oats and barley, sweetened with honey from the Abbey's own beehives, along with fresh milk from the Abbey's cows and small portions of cheese aged in the Abbey's cool cellars. The monks eat in contemplative silence, following the ancient tradition of listening to sacred readings while they take their meal. Brother Benedict, whose voice has been trained in the art of reading aloud, stands at a wooden lectern and reads from the lives of the saints, his words flowing like a gentle stream that nourishes both body and spirit. The stories tell of holy men and women who found God in the simplest acts of daily life, in the care of the sick, in the tending of gardens, in the patient copying of sacred texts, and in the thousand small kindnesses that make up a life lived in service to others. As Brother Thomas chews his bread slowly, savoring both its taste and the gratitude it inspires, He reflects on how different this life is from the world beyond the abbey walls. Here there is no rushing, no anxiety about accumulating wealth or achieving worldly success. Instead, there is a rhythm as natural and reliable as the seasons themselves, a way of living that honors both the needs of the body and the longings of the soul. The bread he eats connects him to the wheat that grew in nearby fields, to the hands that harvested it, to the miller who ground it, and to the brother who kneaded the dough and tended the ovens through the early morning hours. After the meal, Brother Thomas returns to his work in the scriptorium, where the afternoon light creates a different quality of illumination, softer and more golden than the bright morning sun. He takes up his quill once more, feeling the familiar weight of it in his fingers, and continues his careful copying of the Psalms. The words flow from his pen like water from a spring, each character formed with the same devotion that a master craftsman brings to the carving of stone or the shaping of wood. The parchment beneath his hand is smooth and welcoming, eager to receive the sacred words that will preserve them for future generations. As he works, Brother Thomas allows his mind to contemplate the meaning of the words he is copying. The Psalms speak of finding refuge in God's love, of discovering peace in the midst of turmoil, of trusting in a divine plan that encompasses all of creation. These ancient words, written thousands of years ago by poets and prophets, still carry within them the power to comfort and inspire, to lift the human spirit above the concerns of daily life and connect it with something eternal and unchanging. The afternoon hours pass in this peaceful rhythm of work and contemplation, punctuated by the gentle sounds of the scriptorium, the scratching of quills, the soft rustle of pages, and the occasional quiet consultation between brothers working on related texts. The light gradually shifts and changes, moving across the tables like a slow golden tide, while outside the windows, the abbey gardens bask in the warm sunshine and the distant hills shimmer in the afternoon haze. Brother Thomas's hand moves steadily across the parchment, creating line after line of beautiful script that transforms the blank page into a repository of sacred wisdom. Each letter is perfectly formed, each word precisely spaced, while the overall effect is one of harmony and balance that reflects the inner peace of the scribe who created it. The work requires complete concentration, but it is a concentration that brings not fatigue, but a deep sense of fulfillment, as if his very soul is being nourished by the act of preserving these sacred words. The bell tower chimes again, marking the hour of sext, the 6th hour of the day, and once more the monks set aside their work to gather in the chapel for prayer. The afternoon light streaming through the stained glass windows creates a kaleidoscope of colors that dance across the stone walls and wooden pews, while the air is filled with the gentle warmth of summer sunshine and the faint fragrance of wildflowers carried on the breeze from the fields beyond the abbey walls. The prayers of sext are brief but heartfelt, a moment of pause in the day's activities to remember the source of all blessings and to express gratitude for the simple gift of life itself. Brother Thomas feels his spirit expand as he joins his voice with those of his brothers, their combined prayers rising like incense toward heaven. The familiar words wash over him like a gentle tide, cleansing away any small anxieties or concerns and leaving him refreshed and renewed. After the prayers, the community disperses to various afternoon activities. Some monks return to their scholarly work in the scriptorium, while others attend to practical matters such as maintenance of the abbey buildings, care of the livestock, or work in the gardens. Brother Thomas chooses to spend his afternoon in the herb garden, where he assists Brother Marcus in harvesting the medicinal plants that will be dried and prepared for use in the Abbey's infirmary. The herb garden is a sanctuary within a sanctuary, a place where the healing power of plants mingles with the spiritual atmosphere of the Abbey to create something that nourishes both body and soul. The raised beds are arranged in a geometric pattern that pleases the eye while making the most efficient use of space, and each section is devoted to plants with specific healing properties. There are beds of chamomile, whose small white flowers can be steeped in hot water to create a tea that soothes troubled sleep, and rows of lavender, whose purple spikes release their calming fragrance at the slightest touch. Brother Thomas kneels beside a bed of rosemary, its needle-like leaves releasing their pungent, invigorating scent as he carefully cuts sprigs for drying. The plant's woody stems are warm from the afternoon sun, and its leaves glisten with aromatic oils that have been treasured since ancient times for their ability to sharpen the mind and strengthen the memory. As he works, he thinks about the long history of this plant, how it has been used by countless generations of healers and wise women, and how the knowledge of its properties has been passed down through the ages like a sacred trust. Brother Marcus moves through the garden with the unhurried grace of someone who has spent decades learning to read the subtle signs that plants give about their health and readiness for harvest. His weathered hands seem to know instinctively when a plant is at the peak of its potency, when its leaves contain the highest concentration of healing compounds. He teaches Brother Thomas to look for the telltale signs, the color of the leaves, the firmness of the stems, the intensity of the fragrance, and the time of day when the plant's energy is most concentrated. The work in the garden is meditative and peaceful, requiring the same kind of focused attention that Brother Thomas brings to his copying of manuscripts, but engaging the body as well as the mind. The warm earth beneath his knees, the gentle weight of the basket as it fills with freshly cut herbs, and the play of sunlight and shadow across the garden beds all contribute to a sense of connection with the natural world that is both grounding and uplifting as the afternoon sun begins to descend toward the horizon. Brother Thomas and Brother Marcus carry their baskets of freshly harvested herbs to the Abbey's drying room, a cool, well-ventilated chamber where bundles of plants hang from wooden rafters like fragrant garlands. The air here is filled with the concentrated essence of dozens of different herbs, each contributing its own unique note to a symphony of natural fragrances that seems to have healing properties all its own. Bundles of sage and thyme hang alongside sprigs of mint and oregano, while larger arrangements of St. John's wort and feverfew create curtains of green and gold that filter the light streaming through the small windows. Brother Marcus demonstrates the proper way to bundle the herbs, tying small groups of stems together with strips of linen cloth, ensuring that air can circulate freely around each plant to prevent mold and preserve the precious oils within the leaves. The work requires patience and careful attention, as each type of herb has its own specific requirements for drying and storage. Some plants must be dried quickly in warm, dry air, while others need slow, gentle drying in cool, shadowy spaces to preserve their delicate compounds. The rhythm of this work is soothing and contemplative, allowing Brother Thomas to enter into a state of quiet meditation while his hands perform their skilled tasks. he finds himself thinking about the connection between the physical act of healing and the spiritual journey toward wholeness, how the same divine love that guides the soul toward peace also manifests in the healing properties of these simple plants. Each herb seems to carry within it a message of hope and restoration, a reminder that even in a world touched by suffering and disease, there are always sources of comfort and healing available to those who know how to look for them as they work. Brother Marcus shares stories from his many years as the Abbey's herbalist, tales of pilgrims who arrived at the Abbey gates suffering from various ailments and who departed restored to health through the careful application of plant medicines and the healing power of prayer. He speaks of a merchant who came to them with a persistent cough that had plagued him for months, and who was cured by a simple syrup made from horehound and honey. There was also a young mother whose child suffered from frequent nightmares, and who found peace through the use of chamomile tea and lavender sachets placed beneath the child's pillow. These stories remind Brother Thomas of the Abbey's role as a center of learning and healing, a place where the wisdom of the ages is preserved and put to practical use in service of anyone who seeks help. The monks do not simply contemplate abstract truths in isolation from the world's needs, but rather they apply their knowledge and skills in ways that bring real comfort and healing to those who suffer. The herb garden and the scriptorium are both expressions of the same fundamental commitment to preserving and sharing the gifts that have been entrusted to their care. The bell tower chimes the hour of none, the 9th hour of the day, and once again the monks gather in the chapel for prayer. The afternoon light has grown softer and more golden, creating a warm, honey-colored glow that fills the sacred space with an atmosphere of profound peace. The prayers of none acknowledge the approach of evening and express gratitude for the day's accomplishments, while also preparing the heart for the contemplative hours that lie ahead. Brother Thomas takes his place among his brothers, feeling a familiar comfort of this rhythm that has shaped his days for so many years. The Latin words of the prayers roll off his tongue with the ease of long practice, but they have not lost their power to move and inspire him. Each time he recites these ancient formulas, he discovers new depths of meaning, new connections between the words and the experiences of his daily life. The prayers serve as a bridge between the visible world of herbs and manuscripts and the invisible realm of the spirit, reminding him that all true work, whether with plants or parchment, is ultimately a form of prayer. After the prayers, the community enjoys a period of free time before the evening meal. Some monks choose to walk in the abbey gardens, where the late afternoon light creates long shadows across the carefully tended paths. Others retreat to their cells for private prayer and reflection, while still others gather in small groups to discuss questions of theology or to share insights gained from their reading and study. Brother Thomas decides to spend this time in the Abbey's library, a treasure house of knowledge that contains not only religious texts but also works on natural philosophy, medicine, astronomy, and the practical arts. The library is housed in a vaulted chamber that rises 2 stories high, with galleries running along the upper level to provide access to the books stored on the higher shelves. The walls are lined with wooden shelves that hold hundreds of volumes, each one carefully copied by hand and bound in leather covers that have been tooled with intricate patterns and designs. The air in the library is cool and dry, perfect for preserving the precious manuscripts, and it carries the distinctive scent of aged parchment and leather that seems to whisper of centuries of accumulated wisdom. Brother Thomas makes his way to a section devoted to works on natural philosophy, where he selects a treatise on the properties of medicinal plants, written by a learned monk from a distant abbey. The manuscript is beautifully illuminated, with intricate drawings of plants and flowers that demonstrate the same careful attention to detail that characterizes the best religious artwork. Each illustration is a masterpiece of observation and artistic skill, showing not just the general appearance of the plant, but also the specific characteristics that distinguish it from similar species. He settles into a comfortable chair near one of the tall windows, where the afternoon light provides excellent illumination for reading. The manuscript opens to a page discussing the properties of valerian, a plant whose roots have been used since ancient times to promote restful sleep and calm nervous disorders. The author describes not only the plant's physical characteristics and methods of preparation, but also its place in the larger framework of natural philosophy, explaining how its calming properties reflect the divine order that governs all creation. As Brother Thomas reads, he is struck by the elegant way in which the author weaves together practical knowledge and spiritual insight, showing how the study of nature can become a form of prayer and contemplation. The manuscript reveals the deep connections between all living things, demonstrating how the same divine wisdom that guides the stars in their courses also determines the healing properties of humble plants. This integration of knowledge and faith represents the highest achievement of monastic scholarship, where learning serves not merely to satisfy curiosity, but to deepen understanding of the divine plan that encompasses all creation. The library gradually fills with the soft golden light of late afternoon, while outside the windows, the abbey gardens begin to show the first signs of evening. The shadows grow longer, and the air becomes cooler and more fragrant as the plants release their evening fragrances. Brother Thomas continues his reading, allowing the wisdom of the ancient text to wash over him like a gentle stream each page, revealing new connections between the natural world and the spiritual realm. The bell tower chimes again, marking the approach of Vespers, the evening prayer that serves as the hinge between the active hours of the day and the contemplative time of night. Brother Thomas carefully closes the manuscript and returns it to its proper place on the shelf, ensuring that it will be available for future readers who seek the same wisdom and insight that he has found within its pages. The library begins to empty as the monks make their way toward the chapel, their footsteps creating a soft procession through the corridors of the abbey. The chapel has been transformed by the evening light, which streams through the stained glass windows in shafts of ruby and gold that seem to set the very air ablaze with color. The wooden pews glow with warm, honey-colored light, while the stone walls seem to radiate the accumulated prayers of centuries. The atmosphere is one of profound reverence and expectancy, as if the sacred space itself is preparing for the transition from day to night, from the active work of the daylight hours to the contemplative silence of the evening. Brother Thomas takes his place among his brothers, feeling the familiar sense of homecoming that always accompanies this evening gathering. The prayers of Vespers are longer and more elaborate than those of the earlier hours, reflecting the importance of this transition time in the monastic day. The Psalms speak of finding refuge in God's love as darkness falls, of trusting in divine protection through the hours of night, and of the peace that comes from surrendering the day's concerns to higher hands. The monks' voices blend together in harmonies that seem to rise naturally from the acoustic properties of the chapel itself, creating a sound that is both earthly and celestial. Brother Thomas feels his spirit soar with the familiar melodies, his heart opening like a flower in the warmth of shared worship. The Latin words carry within them the prayers of countless generations of believers, connecting him to a tradition that stretches back through the centuries to the very foundations of the faith. As the prayers conclude, the community processes to the refectory for the evening meal, the last formal gathering of the day. The refectory has been lit with oil lamps that cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating an atmosphere of warmth and intimacy that contrasts with the bright openness of the morning hours. The wooden tables gleam in the lamplight, while the simple religious artwork on the walls seems to glow with its own inner radiance. The evening meal is simple but satisfying, consisting of fresh bread, vegetable soup prepared from produce grown in the abbey gardens, and small portions of cheese and dried fruit. The monks eat in contemplative silence, listening to readings from the writings of the Church Fathers, whose wisdom has guided monastic life for centuries. Brother Thomas savors each bite, grateful for the nourishment that will sustain him through the night, and mindful of the hands that have prepared this food with such care and attention. The soup is particularly warming and comforting, made from carrots, onions, and herbs that were growing in the abbey gardens just hours before. Each spoonful carries the essence of the earth and the sun, the rain and the careful tending of the monks who work in the gardens. The bread has a nutty, wholesome flavor that speaks of grain carefully selected and flour ground with attention to its finest qualities. Even the simple cheese reveals layers of flavor that reflect the skill of the brother who oversees the abbey's dairy operations. As the meal progresses, Brother Thomas finds his mind turning toward the approaching night, with its opportunities for deeper contemplation and more intimate communion with the divine. The evening hours in the abbey are traditionally devoted to private prayer and reflection, when each monk can explore the spiritual insights that have emerged from the day's activities. This is a time for integrating the lessons learned through work and study, for allowing the soul to digest the spiritual nourishment it has received throughout the day. After the meal, the community gathers once more in the chapel for Compline, the final prayer of the day. The chapel is now illuminated only by candles, their flickering flames creating a warm, golden glow that transforms the sacred space into something that seems to exist outside of ordinary time. The prayers of Compline are brief but profound, expressing gratitude for the day's blessings and asking for protection through the hours of night. The ancient words carry a special poignancy at this hour, when the veil between day and night seems thinnest and the soul naturally turns toward the deeper mysteries of existence. The final prayer of Compline is followed by a period of profound silence known as the Great Silence, which will last until the first prayers of the following day. This silence is not empty but full, pregnant with the accumulated prayers and meditations of the day, and alive with the sense of divine presence that permeates every corner of the abbey. Brother Thomas feels the silence settling over the community like a gentle blanket, bringing with it a peace that surpasses all understanding. As the great silence descends upon the abbey like a soft veil, Brother Thomas makes his way through the dimly lit corridors toward his cell, his footsteps making only the faintest whisper against the warm stone floors. The oil lamps that line the hallways have been extinguished, leaving only the pale silver light of the moon streaming through the high windows to guide his way. The abbey at night possesses a different quality from its daytime character, becoming a place of deeper mystery and more intimate communion with the divine. The very walls seem to breathe with the accumulated prayers of centuries, while the shadows hold not darkness, but a gentle embrace that welcomes the soul into deeper contemplation. His cell, when he reaches it, is bathed in the soft moonlight that filters through his small window, casting gentle patterns of light and shadow across the simple furnishings. The narrow bed with its rough woolen blankets seems to beckon him toward rest, while the wooden table holds his prayer book and a small crucifix that gleams softly in the lunar radiance. Brother Thomas lights a single candle, not for illumination, but as a symbol of the divine light that never goes out, even in the deepest darkness of night. The flame flickers gently in the still air, casting dancing shadows that seem to move in rhythm with his breathing. Before retiring to his bed, Brother Thomas kneels before his small altar, a simple wooden shelf that holds his most treasured possessions. A hand-carved crucifix that was given to him by his mentor when he first entered the monastery, a small leather-bound book of psalms that he has carried with him for 15 years, and a dried sprig of rosemary from the abbey garden that serves as a reminder of the connection between earthly beauty and spiritual truth. These humble objects represent the foundation of his spiritual life, the anchors that keep him grounded in faith, even as his soul soars toward the infinite in the profound silence of the night. Brother Thomas begins his private prayers, speaking, not with words, but with the deeper language of the heart. He reviews the day just past, offering gratitude for its blessings and asking forgiveness for any moments when he may have fallen short of the ideals that guide his life. The work in the scriptorium, the time spent in the herb garden, the conversations with his brothers, and the hours of communal prayer all pass through his mind like a gentle stream, each memory carrying its own gift of insight and understanding. The candle flame continues its gentle dance, and Brother Thomas finds himself drawn into a state of deep contemplation, where the boundaries between prayer and meditation, between sleeping and waking, begin to blur. The night air carries the faint fragrance of night-blooming flowers from the abbey gardens, mingled with the clean scent of stone and wood that characterizes the ancient building. Through his window, you can see the silhouettes of the abbey towers against the star-filled sky, their Gothic spires pointing toward heaven like fingers raised in perpetual prayer. As he prays, Brother Thomas becomes aware of the larger rhythm of which his life is a part, the great cycle of days and seasons, of planting and harvest, of birth and death and rebirth that governs all existence. The abbey itself is part of this rhythm, its stones quarried from the earth, its timbers cut from trees that grew in nearby forests, its very existence a testament to the human desire to create spaces where the soul can find peace and the spirit can commune with the divine. The generations of monks who have lived and prayed within these walls have each contributed their own thread to the tapestry of faith that, continues to unfold with each passing day. The hours of the night pass in this gentle rhythm of prayer and contemplation, with Brother Thomas moving between periods of focused meditation and moments of profound stillness where his consciousness seems to expand beyond the confines of his physical body. The candle burns steadily, its flame unwavering. In the still air, while outside the window the moon traces its ancient path across the sky, marking the passage of time with its silver light. The night sounds of the countryside filter through the silence. The distant call of an owl, the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze, and the soft murmur of the stream that flows through the abbey grounds. In these deep hours of the night, Brother Thomas experiences a profound sense of connection, not only with the divine, but with all of creation. He feels the presence of his brothers sleeping peacefully in their cells throughout the abbey, their breathing creating a gentle rhythm that seems to pulse through the very stones of the building. He senses the life that continues in the gardens even in darkness, the roots drawing nourishment from the earth, the leaves gathering moisture from the night air, and the flowers preparing to open their petals to greet the dawn. The contemplative silence of the night hours provides a perfect counterpoint to the active work of the day, allowing Brother Thomas to integrate the experiences and insights he has gained through his various labors. The words he copied in the scriptorium echo in his mind, their meanings deepening and expanding as he contemplates them in the stillness of the night. The plants he tended in the garden seemed to whisper their secrets to him, revealing the profound connections between physical healing and spiritual wholeness. The prayers he shared with his brothers continue to resonate in his heart, their harmonies, creating a music that seems to play on even in the silence. As the night deepens, Brother Thomas finds himself drawn into ever deeper levels of contemplation, where the ordinary concerns of daily life fade away and the soul touches the eternal truths that underlie all existence. In these profound moments, he experiences a peace that transcends all understanding, a sense of being held in the embrace of infinite love and compassion. The boundaries between self and other, between human and divine, seem to dissolve like morning mist before the rising sun, leaving only the pure experience of being itself. The candle flame burns lower, its wax forming gentle pools of liquid light that solidify to smooth white formations on the wooden table. Brother Thomas watches this transformation with the same attention he brings to all the small miracles of daily life, seeing in the candle's gradual consumption a symbol of the way the soul offers itself in service to the divine light. The flame gives of itself completely, holding nothing back, and in that total surrender it creates both light and warmth that serve others. Through his window, the first pale hints of dawn begin to appear on the eastern horizon, painting the sky in the faintest shades of rose and gold. The night is beginning its gentle transition into day, and Brother Thomas prepares to join this cosmic rhythm that has governed his life for so many years. The approaching dawn brings with it the promise of new opportunities for service and growth, new chances to deepen his understanding of the divine mysteries that surround him at every moment. As he prepares for the few hours of sleep that will restore his body before the next day's labors begin, Brother Thomas reflects on the profound satisfaction that comes from living a life aligned with the deeper rhythms of existence. The monastic way of life, with its careful balance of prayer and work, of solitude and community, of contemplation and action, provides a framework within which the soul can flourish and grow. Each day brings its own gifts and challenges, its own opportunities for learning and service, while the overarching structure of monastic life ensures that every activity, no matter how humble or ordinary, is transformed into a form of prayer. The dawn light grows stronger, painting the walls of his cell in warm golden hues that seem to emanate from within the stone itself. Brother Thomas extinguishes his candle with a gentle breath, watching as the last wisp of smoke rises toward the ceiling like a prayer made visible. The transition from night to day is complete, and he settles onto his narrow bed, pulling the woolen blankets around him with a sense of deep contentment and gratitude. As sleep begins to claim him, Brother Thomas remains aware of the larger life, of which he is a part, the great community of believers that extends far beyond the walls of the Abbey to encompass all those who seek truth and meaning in their lives. The prayers that will soon begin with the first light of dawn will join his voice with countless others around the world, creating a continuous stream of worship and praise that flows like a great river to source of all being. The countryside around the Abbey begins to stir with the first signs of dawn, as birds begin their morning songs and the dew begins to form on the grass and flowers. The Abbey itself seems to breathe with anticipation, its stones warming slowly in the growing light, its gardens preparing to reveal their beauty to the new day. Brother Thomas drifts into sleep with the sound of the morning breeze rustling through the trees, carrying with it the promise of another day filled with opportunities for service, learning, and growth. In his dreams, he walks through endless gardens where every plant glows with its own inner light, revealing the spiritual essence that lies hidden within all physical forms. He sees libraries filled with books that contain not just words but living wisdom, their pages turning themselves to reveal exactly the knowledge that each reader needs at each moment. He experiences chapels where the very stones sing with the accumulated prayers of centuries, their voices blending in harmonies that seem to encompass all possible expressions of faith and devotion. The dreams flow like a gentle river, carrying him deeper into the mystery of existence, where every ordinary object reveals its sacred nature, and every simple act becomes a sacrament. He dreams of copying manuscripts where the letters form themselves without his conscious effort, flowing from his pen like water from a spring, while the words they create seem to glow with their own inner radiance. He dreams of tending gardens where the plants grow not just from soil and sunlight, but from the very love and attention he brings to their care. Throughout his sleep, the rhythm of his breathing remains steady and peaceful, matching the gentle pulse of life that flows through the Abbey and connects it to the larger rhythms of the natural world. The moonlight continues to stream through his window, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow that seem to dance in harmony with his dreams. The night air carries the mingled fragrances of the Abbey gardens, the clean scent of stone and wood, and the faint traces of incense that linger from the evening prayers. As the hours pass, the quality of light in his cell gradually changes, shifting from the silver radiance of moonlight to the warm gold of approaching dawn. The Abbey begins to stir with the first signs of life, as the earliest rising brothers make their way quietly through the corridors toward the chapel. The great silence that has enveloped the community throughout the night hours begins to lift, like morning mist rising from a peaceful lake. Preparing to give way to the new day's rhythm of prayer and work, Brother Thomas sleeps peacefully through these gentle transitions, his spirit nourished by the deep rest that comes from a life lived in harmony with the divine will. His dreams continue to unfold like flowers opening to the sun, each one revealing new aspects of the truth that lies at the heart of existence. In these profound hours of rest, his soul drinks deeply from the wells of wisdom and compassion that sustain all life, preparing him for whatever challenges and opportunities the coming day may bring. The first birds begin to sing in the trees outside his window, their melodies weaving together in a natural symphony that celebrates the return of light to the world. The sound penetrates his dreams without disturbing his rest, adding another layer of beauty to the peaceful landscape of his sleeping mind. Soon, the bell tower will chime the hour of matins, calling the community to the first prayers of the new day. But for now, Brother Thomas continues his journey through the peaceful realms of sleep, where the soul finds the rest and renewal it needs to serve faithfully in the waking world. The abbey awakens slowly, like a great living creature, stretching after a long, peaceful sleep. The first rays of dawn filter through the mist that clings to the valley, painting the ancient stones in shades of pearl and rose. Brother Thomas stirs gently in his narrow bed, his consciousness returning gradually from the depths of restorative sleep. The transition from the world of dreams to the waking world is seamless and natural, like water flowing from one pool to another. He remains still for a moment, allowing his spirit to emerge fully from the peaceful depths of slumber, while the soft morning light begins to illuminate the familiar objects in his cell. The wooden crucifix on his table catches the first gleam of sunlight, its carved surface seeming to glow with an inner warmth that speaks of the love that inspired its creation. The dried sprig of rosemary releases its gentle fragrance into the morning air, a reminder of the connection between earthly beauty and spiritual truth that permeates every aspect of monastic life. Brother Thomas rises from his bed with the same deliberate grace that characterizes all his movements, his body refreshed by sleep and his spirit renewed by the deep communion with the divine that has sustained him through the night hours. The morning air is crisp and clean, carrying with it the fresh sense of dew-dampened earth and the first flowers of the season. Through his window, Brother Thomas can see the abbey gardens beginning to emerge from the morning mist, their neat rows of vegetables and herbs promising another day of growth and abundance. The fruit trees along the garden walls are heavy with blossoms, their petals pale pink and white in the early light, while the herb beds release their various fragrances into the warming air. The sight fills him with a quiet joy that seems to expand from his heart to encompass the entire world. As he prepares for the day ahead, Brother Thomas reflects on the profound blessing of awakening in such a place of peace and beauty. The abbey has been his home for 15 years, and yet each morning brings with it the sense of discovering this sanctuary anew. The familiar routines of monastic life provide a framework within which each day can unfold with its own unique gifts and opportunities for spiritual growth. The predictable rhythm of prayer and work, of solitude and community, creates a safe harbor where the soul can rest and be renewed. The bell tower begins its gentle call to matins, the first prayer of the new day, and Brother Thomas joins the quiet procession of monks making their way through the corridors toward the chapel. The oil lamps have been lit again, casting pools of warm light that guide their footsteps through the stone passages. The air is filled with the soft sounds of sandaled feet on stone, the gentle rustle of woolen habits, and the deep, peaceful breathing of men who have found their true calling in life. No words are spoken, but the silence is rich with shared purpose and mutual understanding. In the chapel, the morning light streams through the stained glass windows with a clarity and brilliance that seems to transform the entire space into a jewel of colored fire. The wooden pews gleam with warm honey tones, while the stone altar seems to radiate a gentle radiance that draws the eye and the heart toward the sacred mysteries it represents. The monks take their places with the same reverent attention they bring to every aspect of their communal life, their movements creating a choreography of devotion that has been perfected over centuries of practice. The prayers of matins are longer and more elaborate than those of the other hours, acknowledging the special significance of this transition from night to day, from sleep to waking, from rest to renewed activity. The ancient words flow like a river of light, carrying with them the accumulated wisdom of generations of believers who have found in these prayers a source of strength and guidance. Brother Thomas joins his voice with those of his brothers, feeling the familiar sense of homecoming that accompanies this morning gathering as the prayers continue. The light in the chapel grows stronger and more beautiful, painting the faces of the monks in golden tones that seem to reflect the inner light of their devotion. The Latin words rise and fall in harmonies that seem to emerge naturally from the acoustic properties of the sacred space, creating a sound that is both earthly and celestial. Each psalm and antiphon carries within it layers of meaning that have been explored and treasured by countless generations of believers, while the melodies themselves seem to express truths that lie beyond the reach of ordinary language. After the prayers, the community begins the new day's work with the same spirit of dedication and mindfulness that characterizes all their activities. Brother Thomas returns to the scriptorium, where the morning light creates perfect conditions for the delicate work of copying manuscripts. The tall windows allow the early sunshine to stream across the working tables, while the cool air helps to keep the ink from drying too quickly on the parchment. The atmosphere is one of focused concentration, where each monk can lose himself in the sacred task of preserving the wisdom of the ages at his assigned place. Brother Thomas finds his materials prepared exactly as he left them the evening before. The parchment is smooth and inviting, its cream-colored surface ready to receive the sacred words that will transform it from a simple animal skin into a repository of divine truth. His quill, carefully maintained and perfectly sharpened, rests beside the small pot of ink that gleams like liquid night. The manuscript he is copying contains some of the most beautiful prayers in the Christian tradition, words that have comforted and inspired believers for over 1,000 years. As he begins his work, Brother Thomas feels the familiar rhythm of writing settle into his bones, the careful formation of each letter becoming a form of meditation in itself. The Latin words flow from his pen like water from a spring, each character perfectly formed and properly spaced, while the overall effect is one of harmony and beauty that reflects the divine order underlying all creation. The work requires complete concentration, but it is a concentration that brings not fatigue, but deep satisfaction as if his very soul is being nourished by the act of preserving these sacred words. The morning hours pass in this peaceful rhythm of work and contemplation, with the scriptorium filled with the gentle sounds of quills scratching on parchment and the soft rustle of pages being turned. Brother Thomas finds himself lost in the sacred text he is copying, the words seeming to come alive under his careful pen. He is working on a collection of prayers for the healing of the sick, beautiful invocations that call upon divine mercy to restore health to suffering bodies and peace to troubled minds. Each prayer is a masterpiece of spiritual poetry, combining theological precision with emotional depth in ways that speak directly to the human heart. As he writes, Brother Thomas reflects on the profound responsibility that comes with this work. The manuscripts he creates will survive for centuries, carrying these sacred words to generations of believers who have not yet been born. The quality of his work, the care he takes with each letter and word, will determine whether these texts remain legible and beautiful for future readers. This awareness fills him with a sense of purpose that transforms the simple act of writing into a form of service to the eternal truths that transcend time and mortality. The sun climbs higher in the sky, its rays shifting gradually across the scriptorium tables and illuminating different sections of the room in turn. Brother Thomas pauses occasionally to flex his fingers and rest his eyes, using these brief interludes to contemplate the meaning of the words he has just written. The prayers speak of divine love that embraces all creation, of healing that encompasses not just the body but the soul, and of hope that endures even in the face of suffering and death. These themes resonate deeply with his own spiritual journey, reminding him of the grace that has guided his life and the peace that comes from surrendering to the divine will around him. His brothers work with the same dedication and skill, their collective efforts creating an atmosphere of profound devotion that seems to sanctify the very air they breathe. Some are copying theological treatises, others are working on historical chronicles, and still others are creating illuminated manuscripts, where beautiful artwork enhances the sacred text. The diversity of their projects reflects the Abbey's commitment to preserving all forms of human knowledge and wisdom, from the most abstract theological speculations to the most practical instructions for daily life. Brother Benedict, who works at the table beside him, is creating an illuminated initial for a book of Psalms, his skilled hands applying gold leaf to the intricate patterns he has drawn. The work requires extraordinary patience and precision, as each tiny detail must be perfect if the final result is to achieve the beauty and perfection that such sacred texts deserve. The gold catches the morning light and seems to glow with its own inner radiance, transforming the simple letter into a work of art that will inspire and uplift all who see it. The bell tower chimes the hour of prime, calling the monks to the second prayer of the day. Brother Thomas carefully covers his work with a clean cloth to protect it from dust and moisture, then joins the procession of his brothers making their way to the chapel. The morning light has continued to grow stronger and more beautiful, filling the sacred space with an atmosphere of joy and celebration that seems to acknowledge the gift of another day of life and service. The prayers of Prime are brief but heartfelt, expressing gratitude for the night's rest and asking for guidance and strength through the day ahead. The monks' voices blend together in harmonies that seem to rise naturally from their shared faith and purpose, creating a sound that is both human and divine. Brother Thomas feels his spirit lift with the familiar words, his heart opening like a flower in the warmth of communal worship. The prayers serve as a bridge between the private devotions of the early morning and the active work of the day, reminding him that all true labor is a form of prayer. After the prayers, the community gathers in the refectory for the morning meal, a simple but nourishing repast that will sustain them through the hours of work ahead. The refectory is filled with the warm light of the climbing sun, while the wooden tables gleam with the patina that comes from years of careful use and loving maintenance. The meal consists of fresh bread, still warm from the ovens, with a crust that releases its weedy fragrance when broken, and a simple porridge made from oats grown in the abbey's own fields. Brother Thomas eats slowly and mindfully, savoring each bite while listening to the morning reading from the lives of the saints. The reader today is Brother Mark, whose clear voice carries easily through the hall, bringing to life the stories of holy men and women who found God in the most ordinary circumstances of daily life. The tales speak of miracles that emerge from simple acts of kindness, of wisdom that comes from patient attention to the needs of others, and of joy that flows from complete surrender to the divine will dot as he chews his bread. Brother Thomas reflects on the profound nourishment that comes, not just from food, but from the community life that surrounds and supports him. The bread connects him to the wheat that grew in nearby fields, to the miller who ground the grain, and to the brother who kneaded the dough and tended the fires through the early morning hours. Each bite is a reminder of the interconnectedness of all life, the way in which every person and every creature contributes to the great web of existence that encompasses all creation. The morning meal concludes with a prayer of thanksgiving, and the community disperses to their various tasks and responsibilities. Brother Thomas returns to the scriptorium, where the light has continued to improve, creating perfect conditions for the delicate work of manuscript copying. He uncovers his parchment and takes up his quill, feeling the familiar sense of anticipation that comes with beginning a new section of sacred text. The prayer he is about to copy is particularly beautiful, a meditation on the divine love that sustains all creation and the hope that springs eternal in the human heart. As he writes, Brother Thomas becomes aware of the larger rhythm of which his work is a part, the great cycle of preservation and transmission that has kept these sacred words alive through the centuries. The monasteries scattered throughout Europe serve as repositories of wisdom and learning, their scriptorium producing the manuscripts that will carry human knowledge and spiritual insight to future generations. The work he does with his quill and parchment is connected to similar efforts taking place in abbeys and monasteries from Ireland to Constantinople, all part of a great collective effort to preserve the best of human civilization. The words flow from his pen with increasing fluency and grace, each letter perfectly formed and properly spaced, while the overall effect is one of harmony and beauty that reflects the divine order underlying all creation. The prayer he is copying speaks of finding peace in the midst of turmoil, of discovering hope in the darkest circumstances, and of experiencing the love of God even in times of suffering and loss. These themes resonate deeply with Brother Thomas's own spiritual journey, reminding him of the grace that has guided his life and the peace that comes from complete trust in divine providence. The morning continues its gentle progression toward noon, with the sun climbing higher in the sky and the light in the scriptorium growing stronger and more brilliant. Brother Thomas works with increasing absorption, his consciousness expanding beyond the confines of his physical body to embrace the eternal truths contained in the words he copies. The act of writing becomes a form of prayer in itself, a way of participating in the divine creative process that brings order and beauty out of chaos and confusion around him. The scriptorium hums with the quiet activity of his brothers, each absorbed in his own sacred task, their collective concentration creating an atmosphere of profound peace that seems to bless every word they write. Brother Augustine works on a treatise about the nature of time and eternity, his careful script preserving the philosophical insights of ancient thinkers for future generations of scholars. Brother Jerome copies a medical text that describes the healing properties of various plants, his precise handwriting ensuring that this practical knowledge will remain available to those who seek to ease suffering and restore health. Brother Francis illuminates a book of hours, his skilled brush applying delicate colors to create images that will inspire prayer and meditation for centuries to come. The diversity of their work reflects the Abbey's commitment to preserving all forms of human knowledge and wisdom, from the most abstract theological speculations to the most practical instructions for daily life. Each manuscript represents countless hours of patient labor, but more than that, it embodies the love and devotion that the monks bring to their calling. The beautiful handwriting, the careful attention to detail, and the obvious pride in craftsmanship all testify to the spiritual significance of this work, transforming the simple act of copying into a form of worship that honors both the sacred texts and the divine source of all. Wisdom as the morning advances toward its peak. Brother Thomas finds himself entering ever deeper states of contemplation, where the boundaries between writer and text, between human effort and divine inspiration, begin to blur and dissolve. The words seem to flow from his pen without conscious effort, as if they are being channeled through him from some inexhaustible source of truth and beauty. This experience fills him with a profound sense of humility and gratitude, recognizing that his role is not to create, but to serve as a vessel through which eternal wisdom can be preserved and transmitted. The prayer he is copying speaks of the divine light that illuminates all creation, the love that sustains every living thing, and the peace that passes all understanding. These concepts are not merely intellectual abstractions, but living realities that Brother Thomas experiences in his daily life within the Abbey walls. The light that streams through the scriptorium windows is a physical manifestation of the spiritual light that guides his path, while the love that binds the monastic community together reflects the universal love that embraces all creation. The bell tower chimes the hour of terce, and once again the monks set aside their work to gather in the chapel for prayer. The morning light has reached its full strength, flooding the sacred space with brilliant illumination that seems to transform the very stones into sources of radiance. The stained glass windows create a kaleidoscope of colors that dance across the walls and floor, while the wooden pews seem to glow with their own inner warmth. The atmosphere is one of joyful celebration, acknowledging the gift of another morning and the opportunity to praise the source of all blessings. Brother Thomas takes his place among his brothers, feeling the familiar sense of homecoming that accompanies each gathering for prayer. The words of Terse flow from his lips with the ease of long practice, but they have not lost their power to move and inspire him. Each time he recites these ancient formulas, he discovers new depths of meaning, new connections between the sacred words and the experiences of his daily life. The prayers serve as a constant reminder of the divine presence that permeates every moment of existence, transforming even the most ordinary activities into opportunities for spiritual growth. After the prayers, the community enjoys a brief period of recreation before returning to their work. Some monks choose to walk in the abbey gardens, where the morning sun has burned away the last traces of mist and revealed the full beauty of the carefully tended plots. Others gather in small groups to discuss questions of theology or to share insights gained from their reading and study. Brother Thomas decides to spend this time in quiet contemplation, sitting on a stone bench in the herb garden where the fragrance of growing plants mingles with the warm sunshine to create an atmosphere of profound peace. The garden is alive with the subtle sounds of growth and renewal, the gentle buzz of bees moving from flower to flower, the soft rustle of leaves in the morning breeze, and the quiet drip of water from the fountain that provides irrigation for the various beds. Brother Thomas closes his eyes and allows these sounds to wash over him, each one a small miracle that speaks of the divine creativity, manifests itself in countless ways throughout the natural world. The warmth of the sun on his face, the firm support of the stone bench beneath him, and the sweet fragrance of the herbs all combine to create a sensory experience that lifts his spirit and fills him with gratitude for the simple gift of being. A live dot as he sits in contemplation, Brother Thomas becomes aware of the larger rhythms of which his life is a part, the great cycles of growth and decay, of planting and harvest, of birth and death and rebirth that govern all existence. The abbey itself is part of these rhythms, its stones quarried from the earth, its timbers cut from trees that grew in nearby forests. Its very existence a testament to the human desire to create spaces where the soul can find peace and the spirit can commune with the divine. The generations of monks who have lived and prayed within these walls have each contributed their own thread to the tapestry of faith that continues to unfold with each passing day. The sun climbs toward its zenith, and Brother Thomas returns to the scriptorium to continue his work. The afternoon light creates a different quality of illumination, softer and more golden than the bright morning sun, while the air carries the warm sense of the awakening earth. He takes up his quill once more, feeling the familiar weight of it in his fingers, and continues his careful copying of the sacred prayers. The parchment beneath his hand seems to welcome the words, eager to receive the wisdom that will transform it from a simple animal skin into a repository of divine truth. The prayer he is working on now speaks of finding strength in times of weakness, of discovering hope in moments of despair, and of experiencing the presence of God even in the darkest valleys of life. These words carry special meaning for Brother Thomas, who has experienced his own share of challenges and difficulties on his spiritual journey. The monastic life, for all its peace and beauty, is not without its struggles, its moments of doubt and uncertainty, It's times when the soul feels dry and empty. But it is precisely in these difficult moments that the true value of the monastic way of life becomes apparent, providing a framework of support and guidance that helps the soul weather any storm. As he writes, Brother Thomas reflects on the profound transformation that has taken place in his life since he entered the Abbey 15 years ago. The young man who first walked through these gates was restless and searching, filled with questions about the meaning of existence and the purpose of human life. The patient guidance of his brothers, the daily rhythm of prayer and work, and the gradual deepening of his spiritual understanding have slowly transformed him into someone who has found his true calling and his deepest joy in service to God and neighbor. The afternoon hours pass in this peaceful rhythm of work and contemplation, with Brother Thomas losing himself completely in the sacred task of copying manuscripts. The words seem to flow from his pen with increasing fluency and grace, each letter perfectly formed and properly spaced, while the overall effect is one of harmony and beauty that reflects the divine order underlying all creation. The work requires complete concentration, but it is a concentration that brings not fatigue but deep satisfaction, as if his very soul is being nourished by the act of preserving these sacred words. As the sun begins its descent toward the western horizon, painting the abbey walls in shades of gold and amber, Brother Thomas feels a profound sense of completion and fulfillment. The day has unfolded exactly as countless other days have unfolded before it, following the ancient rhythm of prayer and work, of solitude and community, of contemplation and action that has shaped monastic life for centuries. Yet each day also brings its own unique gifts and opportunities for spiritual growth, its own moments of insight and understanding that add to the accumulated wisdom of a lifetime spent in service to the divine. The bell tower chimes the hour of vespers, calling the community to the evening prayer that marks the transition from day to night. Brother Thomas carefully covers his work and joins the procession of monks making their way to the chapel, where the setting sun streams through the stained glass windows and shafts of ruby and gold that transform the sacred space into a vision of celestial beauty. The prayers of Vespers are longer and more elaborate than those of the earlier hours, reflecting the importance of this transition time in the monastic day. As the familiar words of the evening prayers wash over him, Brother Thomas feels his spirit expand with gratitude for the day's blessings and the promise of restful sleep ahead. The Latin phrases carry within them the accumulated prayers of countless generations of believers, connecting him to a tradition that stretches back through the centuries to the very foundations of the faith. The monks' voices blend together in harmonies that seem to rise naturally from the acoustic properties of the chapel itself, creating a sound that is both earthly and celestial. The prayers conclude with the lighting of the evening lamps, their warm glow creating pools of golden light that will guide the monks through the gathering dusk. Brother Thomas remains in the chapel for a few moments after the formal prayers have ended, savoring the peace and beauty of this sacred space where he has found such comfort and inspiration over the years. The silence that follows prayer is not empty but full, pregnant with the presence of the divine and alive with the possibility of deeper communion with the source of all being. As he makes his way back to his cell through the dimly lit corridors, Brother Thomas carries with him the peace and contentment that come from a day well spent in service to God and neighbor. The familiar routine of monastic life has provided a framework within which his soul could rest and be renewed, while the various activities of the day have each contributed their own gifts to his spiritual development. The work in the scriptorium has deepened his understanding of the sacred texts, while the time spent in prayer has strengthened his connection to the divine source of all wisdom and love. In his cell, Brother Thomas prepares for the night hours with the same deliberate attention he brings to all his activities. He lights a single candle, not for illumination, but as a symbol of the divine light that never goes out, even in the deepest darkness. The flame flickers gently in the still air, casting dancing shadows that seem to move in rhythm with his breathing, while the warm glow creates an atmosphere of profound peace and tranquility. As he kneels before his small altar for his evening prayers, Brother Thomas reviews the day just past, offering gratitude for its blessings and asking forgiveness for any moments when he may have fallen short of his ideals. The work in the scriptorium, the time spent in contemplation, the shared meals with his brothers, and the hours of communal prayer all pass through his mind like a gentle stream, each memory carrying its own gift of insight and understanding. The day has been a microcosm of the monastic life itself, a perfect balance of prayer and work, of solitude and community, of contemplation and action. The night air carries the familiar sense of the abbey, the clean fragrance of stone and wood, the lingering traces of incense from the evening prayers, and the sweet perfume of night-blooming flowers in the gardens. Through his window, Brother Thomas can see the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky, their ancient light bearing witness to the eternal truths that guide his life. The sight fills him with a profound sense of connection to the cosmos, reminding him that the same divine love that set the stars in their courses also guides the daily rhythms of monastic life. As he prepares for sleep, Brother Thomas reflects on the profound blessing of living in such a place of peace and beauty, where every day brings new opportunities for spiritual growth and service to others. The Abbey has become more than just his home. It is a sanctuary where his soul can rest and be renewed, a place where the eternal meets the temporal and transforms ordinary life into something sacred and meaningful. The gentle routine of monastic life provides a framework within which the deepest questions of existence can be explored and the most profound truths can be discovered. The candle flame burns steadily, its light creating a warm circle of radiance. In the gathering darkness, Brother Thomas settles onto his narrow bed, pulling the woolen blankets around him with a sense of deep contentment and gratitude. The day's work is complete, and the night offers the promise of restorative sleep and peaceful dreams. As consciousness begins to fade, he remains aware of the larger life of which he is a part, the great community of believers that extends far beyond the walls of the Abbey to encompass all those who seek truth and meaning in their lives. The Abbey settles into the profound silence of night, its ancient stones holding within them the accumulated prayers and meditations of centuries. The corridors are filled with the gentle breathing of sleeping monks, their peaceful rest a testament to the deep satisfaction that comes from lives lived in harmony with the divine will. Outside, the countryside sleeps under a blanket of stars, while within the Abbey walls, the eternal rhythms of prayer and contemplation continue their ancient dance. carrying forward the wisdom and love that have sustained humanity through all. The ages. Now, as our gentle story draws to its close, allow yourself to drift deeper into that same peaceful state that Brother Thomas has found. Feel the weight of your body being completely supported, just as he felt supported by his simple bed and the loving community around him. Let any remaining tension in your muscles simply melt away, like the last traces of evening mist disappearing. In the warmth of morning sun, allow your breathing to slow and deepen, matching the ancient rhythm of the Abbey, where countless souls have found rest and renewal. Your mind can now release all the concerns of the day, just as Brother Thomas released his daily tasks to rest in the gentle embrace of night. You are safe, you are peaceful, and you are exactly where you need to be. Let the gentle silence of the Abbey settle around you like a soft blanket, carrying you into the most restful and restorative sleep, where your dreams will be filled with the same serenity and grace that flows through every corner of that sacred place.